Last time on Final Fantasy III, we beat up Leviathan, and now we're gonna beat up the last summon of the game. So, just 3 guesses as to who that actually is. Hint, we have seen him before, and, well, that encounter didn't go over too well, especially for William. I don't think he cared for that one at all. But this time we are far more powerful and we can defeat him. However, he's not in the same place he was before, because before he was at Dragon's Peak. This time, though, he's actually at his own house. What was he doing up at Dragon's Peak before? I don't know. Maybe it's because Deshk was in the area and he really didn't like Deshk, which I can totally understand. But this time, he is at his own lair. So Bahamut's lair is a pretty short dungeon. Average looking. It's cave. I kind of like the format. This one is a lot different than the NES version, the layout anyway. Because, as per usual, it was fairly linear, just a few areas to go for treasure chests, and honestly, this area is pretty linear as well. There's not really much to explore, it's just those 2 little things off in the background. Alright. So these guys are drakes. I would do the Ridley voice for these guys, except I can't do that one at all, so sadly, yeah, I'm gonna skip that, but not really much to these guys. They do count as dragons, so dragoons are effective against them. In general, it's probably a pretty good idea to have a dragoon for this dungeon. There aren't that many dragon enemies other than these guys, but of course, if you haven't guessed, we're gonna be fighting Bahamut in Bahamut's lair. I know, so surprising. Oh, we're not fighting Land Turtle a second time? He's not getting his revenge? Oh no. But yeah, Dragoon is pretty useful just for that. Other than that, though, the enemies can be dealt with fairly easily, and it's not like a situation with, oh shoot, what was the other dude's name? Caused me so much ire, and yet I can't remember his name. Well, either way, these guys are Sabertooth Ligers. Yeah, they're still going with Ligers. No special abilities. That's it. That's all. They don't have any weaknesses. They can't do anything to you. By this point, I don't know why they still have enemies like this. God, I was right. These enemies are just all lopsided. All the tough enemies are in the middle of the game, and now that we're at the end game... Well, actually, to be fair... Now, this is still the latter half of the game. We'd have to do this after the Ancient Ruins, so... These guys are easier than the ones in the Cave of Shadow, which I guess you could do this before Cave of Shadows, but even so, it's way, way easier. And it's a short dungeon, so it's not like it's going to get you that many levels, so it's kind of weird that it's just so... they're just so weak. These guys are greater Boros. They, on the other hand, unlike the other guys, can use the spell Thundara, but they're apparently weak to lightning. They can also apparently inflict Petrify on you with their basic attacks. You know, I don't mind enemies having special abilities, because that does increase the difficulty a little bit, but could we maybe not do so much petrification? Like, maybe sleep, paralysis. I'm trying to avoid saying confuse, because confuse is very annoying, and we will be seeing an enemy in a later dungeon that knows how to confuse with its attacks, and it is incredibly annoying. Even if it doesn't cause you that much harm, it's definitely a time waster, so lose-lose situation for you, no matter what happens. Well, it's not really a lose-lose situation, because that would imply that the enemy loses something. No, you just lose out a whole lot no matter what. That's what I'm going for here. I believe the 3rd floor is actually the final floor of this dungeon. In fact, yeah, that bridge is the end, so we're pretty much done here. And an elixir. Oh, wait. Kotetsu. We've gotten some of those swords before, so... obviously they're not too terribly useful. Ooh, Dragon's Roar. Yeah, probably. Wouldn't be here if I was too weak to do so. But yeah, we've gotten the Kotetsu before, and we've gotten better swords since then. Our airship is partially invisible, I can only see the propeller. So anyway, we didn't even see him on the map, so it's kind of a bit of an anticlimactic lead up to the refight with Bahamut. So he's got 34,000 HP, 90 attack, 37 defense. He's weak to wind and dragoon attacks. And of course, he doesn't have too much magic, but he does know his signature attack, Mega Flare, which of course, like the other two summon bosses we fought, does do a lot of damage to the entire party. Mega Flare, if you've played any other Final Fantasy games, you should be quite familiar with, because it's just a very powerful attack. I don't believe it can be reflected most of the time either. I think that's one of the big things. Or if it can be reflected, then Bahamut will find ways around that. But either way, though, he right here can be tough, of course, if you fight him earlier on, because he's definitely the toughest of the three summons, but I'm kind of way ahead of him even then. He's like level 45, I'm probably like level 50 or 60 by this point, I forget. But he's not really doing too much damage, and Mega Flare can still be a threat, but honestly, I'm killing him so fast, he's really not going to be able to capitalize on that. Yeah, see, he's using Mega Flare, and it's a decent animation. I mean, I like the laser. The rest of the explosion is kind of boring, but it's decent. Other games have had cooler animations. Other games have had longer animations. Final Fantasy VII. But to be fair, that was more of your own animations in that case, so I guess I can't fault it too much. And look at that, down goes Bahamut. Was he the easiest of the summon bosses I fought so far? I mean, it feels like he died a lot faster, so that was kind of anticlimactic, but then again, considering when we first met him, he kind of killed us a whole lot, well, I don't mind too much. And we get Bahamut. Can't be called Bahamut for some reason, I don't know why. So, Bahamut, for Evokers, can cast Aura or Rend. Aura, in the original version, would cast Haste on everyone. In this version, it just increases attack power. Rend apparently just kills one enemy, so yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's not gonna be that useful. And of course, unsurprisingly for summoners, his attack is Mega Flare, which has a power of 255. So yeah, he is essentially the most powerful summon in the game, but he's ours now. And with that, there are no more summons left. Meaning, next time on Final Fantasy III, we're actually going to go to the final dungeons. But first, of course, since we've done that, there's actually a bit more mail available now. We can finally send to the four old men, and they'll send back. So yeah, next time we'll get mail from them. Won't that be exciting? It's been far too long since we've talked to them, but anyway, yeah. Next time on Final Fantasy III, it's time to start endgame stuff.